Language acquisition: the object of study. Language acquisition is the study of the processes through which humans acquire language. By itself, language acquisition refers to first language acquisition, which studies infants' acquisition of their native languages, whereas second language acquisition deals with acquisition of additional languages in both children and adults. Language and communication: it is commonly held view that language evolved as a tool for communication. Human language can be seen primarily as socially or culturally determined tool for communication. Alternatively, language can be seen primarily as a cognitive mechanism for structuring utterances and perhaps also thoughts. Acquiring languages. One of the complexities of acquiring language is that it's learned by infants from what appears to be very little input. This has led to the long-standing debate between the two different groups of scholars. Nativist theories. Chunky is the preeminent name here, place the distinctiveness of language in a specific genetic endowment for a specifically genetically instructed language module. Under that view, there is minimal learning involving in acquiring a language. Empiricists, like Hobbes and Locke, argue that knowledge emerged ultimately from abstracted sense impressions. The precise form of language must be acquired through exposure to speech community. Words are definitely not inborn, but the capacity to acquire language and use it creatively seems to be inborn. Chomsky calls it the ability, the LAD, language acquisition device. Core evolutionary theory. There's also core evolutionary proposals. Language is not an instinct, and there is no genetically installed linguistic black box in our brains. Language arose slowly through cognitive and cultural inventiveness. Language began as cognitive adaptation and genetic assimilation. Cognitive effort and genetic assimilation interacted as language and brain co-evolved. Human language is made possible by special adaptations of the human mind and body that occurred in the course of human evolution, and which are put to use by children in acquiring their mother tongue. A critical period for language acquisition. A critical period hypothesis: exposure to language before puberty is necessary for language acquisition. Children with delayed exposure to language, the white boy of Viron, Genie. So here's a sample utterance by Genie, the Pharaoh child. You can notice that she's not able to formulate grammatically. Language stage. The first way of communication a baby has is crying, beginning age birth. After that, cooing, 6 weeks. Intonation patterns, 8 months. One word utterances, 1 year. Two word utterances, 18 months. Word inflections, 2 years. Questions, negations, 2 years and 2 or 5 years. Rare and complex constructions, 5 years. Mm, mature speech, 10 years. Pre-verbal language development, crying, non-linguistic though some language-specific elements, cooing, non-linguistic, exercising the articulatory apparatus, meditation, and the beginning of turn-taking, babbling. Here infants are clearly producing syllable-like sounds, no meaning attached to the babble. Syllables are often found in repetitive, sequences. Children clearly utilize their babbling to tune their vocalization to the sound of the vocal language. Babbling as part of the biologically determined maturation of language abilities. Babbling drift around 9 to 14 months. Infants restrict their babbling to native language sounds. First words. Shortly before their first birthday, babes begin to understand words, and around that birthday, they start to produce them. Words are usually produced in isolation. This one-word stage can last from 2 months to a year. Children's first words are similar all over the planet. About half of the words are the objects: food, juice, cookie, body parts, eye, nose, clothing, diaper, sock, vehicles, car, boat, toys, dog, bug, household items, bottle, light, animals, doggy, and people, mama, dada, baby. There are words for actions, motions, and routines like up, off, open, peekaboo, eat, and go, and modifiers like hot, all gone, more, dirty, and cold. The influence of experience on phonological processing. Newborn to 4 months. Ability to discriminate from non-native language. Preference for native language. Preference for mother's voice. Preference for story and song heard prenatally. 6 months. Structure of native language vocalic categories changing. Some declining in discrimination of non-native vowels. Prefer pause at clause boundaries in native language only. Prefer word lists reflecting native language result. 10 months. No longer discriminate non-native consonants, contrasts. No longer discriminate non-native vocalic contracts. Prefer words that correspond to native phonetic rules. Prefer words with common native stress. Lexical development. Children start producing their first words around 12 months. Words are used holophrastically. A word stands for an entire sentence. By 24 months, they have an expressive vocabulary of between 50 to 600 words. Experience matters for vocabulary growth. Privileged children hear about 2,100 words per hour. Um, Disadvantaged children hear only about 600 words hour. Syntactic development: 18 to 24 months toward utterances. 95% of the utterances correct word order. Telegraphic speech, few functional words. How do children fit long thoughts into word utterances? Children appear to use vertical constructions of utterances, breaking thoughts down into two-word utterances. Child, tape recorder, music. use it. Adult. Use it for what? Talk. Quarter talk. Render talk. Adults use horizontal constructions, complete word by word specification of thoughts. 24 to 48 months. Complexity and length of utterance increase rapidly. Normal conversation. How do children achieve this rapid increase in sentence complexity and length? Childish creativity. Despite the obvious impact the environment has on the choice and general direction of the mother tongue learning, children are prone to come up with all kinds of words and expressions which they have never heard in their environment. Daughter. Somebody is at the door. There's nobody at the door. There is yes body at the door. Second language acquisition. Difference from L1 acquisition. Terms associations. Native language L1, first language mother tongue, heart language. Second language L2, target language or learned language. Second language acquisition SLA. Research investigates how people attain proficiency in a language which is not their mother tongue. Difference between L1 and L2. In a language, contrast similarities. Equal transfer, same word order, words, vowels, 2 to 1, 1 to 2, splits. English, his, her, to Spanish, su. Um, English must learn to add new determinants. El hombre es mortal. English learners of Spanish must learn to forget the English do as a tense career. Old one to new one changes. English must learn new description for French nasalized vowels. Mastering the L2. Is there a critical period for L2? Just for authentic accent, perhaps. Cognitive considerations. Those formal abstracts help or hinder. Conscious vs automatic learning. Affective consideration. Self-esteem, inhibition, risk-taking, anxiety, empathy, extroversion. Interference between L1 and L2. Adult may be more vulnerable to interference from L2, but L1 can be also useful to adults. Second, culture influence. Culture shock, social distance, and politics. Stages of L2 acquisition. Stage 1, random errors, wild guesses. The different city is another one in the another two, or John can't sing. Stage 2, emergent. Learner cannot correct errors even when pointed out. So learner, I go Newark, and native speaker, I will go to Newark. You will go to New York when? 1972. Oh, you went to Newark in. Yes, I go. Stages of L2 acquisition. Systematic. Learners can correct errors if pointed out. Stage 4. Stabilization. Learners can self-correct. However, often they may not correct errors that aren't brought to their attention and may manifest fossilization of their L2. L2 teaching methods. Grammar translation, direct Berlitz method, audiolingual method, today's approach, multiple approach, customized, and interactive. Communicative competence. What is it? How do we know when we have it? Pragmatic competence, functions of language, discourse, sociolinguist, cultural context of use, organizational competence, grammatical vocabulary, morphology, syntax, phonology, graphology, textual cohesion, rhetorical organization. What does it mean to be fluent?